Alright, so I should be going for a walk because that's what I do normally now, but I had a comment that would make a good video, and it's one of those things where if I think about it too long, I won't actually answer it. And yesterday I had my little, how should I put it, day trip vacation, which was exactly what it was supposed to be. It was radically different. About 6 hours in the car, way too many people. Took my son to IKEA. That he tripped out over that. That was just too much for him. He was like, yeah, no. But I needed furniture for his room, and that's like the easiest way to do it. You don't have to interact with anybody at all. You do it on your own. Anyway, so I'm a little fried, let's put it that way, from which is the point. That's the point of doing these things, is to get away from the world, and it just total reset, complete distraction. So I'm drained, but again, I had a good question, which was, in a nutshell, to paraphrase, how in the hell did I get through so much school and having a job at all when you have to interact with people? And the answer is, I actually did very little interacting. What people are forgetting about anything that you do is, I know that avoidance is very limiting, but you still have, to a degree, some choices. This sounds mad, but I mean, this is part of how I deal with it. This is how I've always dealt with it. Decades before I got my diagnosis, when I was in middle school, I got the requirements to graduate high school, and I went through and I planned every single course that I was going to take all 4 years of high school ahead of time, so that I would get the most out of it, as far as being able to get college credit, and also the least have to interact with people. And that is like totally legit. I got somebody meowing at me. Anyway, I mean, that's crazy, but it's also completely, totally the truth. Oh, it's Pansy. It's the black and white one. Anyway, yeah, I figured out what I would be able to do the least interacting with. In college, I had one group project, and it was in a class that I audited. It was pass or fail. One, singular, in 6 years of college. We had to do a arts performance class to graduate college. Pretty fucking terrifying, horrible, if you ask me. I did, I swear to God, I mean, this sounds like a joke. This sounds like such a joke class, but I swear to God, I took creative reading, which is literally, you have to sort of like give a lecture. Oh, here comes the number one. Anyway, I had to literally pick up a book and read it. As a matter of fact, I'd get in trouble when I first started because I would memorize it too much. And they were like, no, you're supposed to stand in front of people and read it in a dynamic manner. By the way, really, really helpful, because then I had a kid who I read to all the time, and apparently I'm a pretty decent read aloud type person. But yes, I picked and chose what I was doing for my job. I did work for years in a cubicle. It did break my soul. And yet the job I had was like accounting type work. Extremely little interacting with people. what was awful, especially the last one I had, the one that really broke me. I mean, in 2 jobs that I had, I was literally alone in a room. I didn't have a cubicle. I mean, I didn't have an office. It was still a cubicle, but where the cubicle was, I was basically in a room by myself. A room by myself in a cubicle. There we go. But the last job I had, my boss's office was right outside, and she was a terrible gossip. She'd keep her door open, and I would hear all these things that she was saying about other people that I worked with, and I couldn't anymore. I couldn't. And I mean, that just drove me over the edge. So that, even though she wasn't in the same room, but almost no interacting. Everything I did was email. I think like twice a year I had to do company-wide meetings, and that's it. You can pick. You can pick. I know somebody else who has avoidant personality disorder, whose job at first I was traumatized to hear about. I was like, oh, that's impossible. You can't do that as an avoidant person. And then I was thinking about it. It was kind of genius. And it's the same sort of thing. I mean, when I was doing the accounting work, clearly this is not what my degrees are in. My degrees are in English literature and writing. So accounting is like as opposite as it can be. But there was still the choice of, okay, I need to get a job. I could be like a teacher. I'm actually a decent teacher. I'm a good tutor because I don't have to interact with anybody. But as far as being a teacher as part of a system, then you have to have like system meetings and everything else. No. This other person, their job, what they do is, again, I mean, at first I was like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. But then I'm thinking about it. It's like most of the time they're out of the office, they're on site, which means that they're not interacting with the same people all the time. It's just very little interacting with the same people, so there's no relationship build up. Also, multiple jobs, which would drive me crazy. But again, same thing. There's no relationship building there, and it's an extremely singular job. And it's a lot of time by themselves, and even when they're at they're shown what to do, where to do it, and then they are left alone. It's like a horrible, perfect, avoidant job. And of course, the better you get at something, then you can do it. So that's the key. The key is to still make these choices. So how did I get through all this college and stuff? I picked a very singular type of study. Creative writing is 98% done totally by yourself. Either you take a job where you're given parameters and they leave you to it, or you write it first and then you get an editor that takes it and reads it totally by themselves, not with you, and then they give you notes on how to fix it, and you fix it, and there you go, done. Very, very, very little. I mean, it's hard because you have to set up yourself for judgment, but very little interacting with people, and usually not the same people. Same thing. It's a very avoidant type job. So that's how you do it. Now, of course, when I went to high school, was a million years ago, we didn't have group projects. I remember the last real true group project I had, and I basically took it over. This is disgusting. This is the truth. The last true group project I had was to dissecting a cow's eyeball for a biology class. And the person I was with was nicknamed Moose. He was supposed to be like this big stud kid. He was just disgusted and horrified by it, so I did the whole thing. And other group projects, I don't remember them because I just didn't get involved at all. I didn't hardly do any of it, and skated by with whatever grade they got me. I just plain didn't do it. As far as performance type thing, I was always, I mean, without a doubt, my worst grade was anything that I had to present to the class, and I just accepted getting like nothing. I'd make it up with my other grades. The exception to the rule um, was at one point in high school. I remember we had to memorize a Shakespearean monologue from one of his plays. And it was so horrifying and so awful, and I knew it would be terrible, and I knew everybody was going to do the shortest one, and that we would all be compared against each other. I went the complete opposite way. I picked the longest one that he possibly has. And it was so long that I basically went into a trance in the middle of it. And again, I mean, if I'm in a trance and I'm staring at the wall behind and I'm not looking at the people and I'm just sort of doing it, apparently it was impressive. This is terrifying. This is when it's like, oh my God. I mean, you got to understand, I never spoke in class. So they were like, whoa, my God, she can actually talk. That sort of thing. I mean, this is horrifying. Again, this is awful. This is the backfire of that. They see, it's hard to even describe it. They made me do it for every single English class because they were all the same, you know. So I had to do it like 7 times. That was awful. And the only one I remember was an English class that was in a math room, which again, this is a million years ago, that it had this like little closet with a big window, and there were like 3 computers, and these were the only computers in the entire school, and I was watching somebody try to program something in this room behind me while I was just spewing out this monologue that I'd memorized. They were like, God, I can't believe that person of all people did that. But that's how you do it. That's what you do. I don't understand how that works. I don't understand how completely, like, you know, get in a car and drive for 3 hours and then I can interact with people where I can't do it at home. But it's the truth, I can do it. I don't understand how that works. Getting so completely out of the comfort zone. It's the same thing as, like, people ask me, how do you ever have any romantic relationships? Like, my son is going to be 17 this week. He does not recall me ever dating another person. He thinks it's the craziest thing. He's trying to date himself, and he's like, I've never seen it. Because basically, the same thing. You have to be like so extremely outside your comfort zone, and then it breaks through the avoidance. It's the same thing. So what you have to do is you have to find something. I know there's, like, I grew up with my entire life the idea that I have to be grateful of any opportunity that comes my way, and I can't speak up and I can't make any decisions, and I just have to accept whatever I'm offered because that's as good as it's going to get for me, and I don't deserve better. And that's how I was taught. And those are literal words from my mother, that I should just accept whatever I've got instead of trying to have any influence on it whatsoever. But you should. I mean, the thing is, if you, like, I tried to be a waitress. Oh, here she comes again. I tried to be a waitress and it didn't work. You know, it was the job that was available, so I took it. It didn't work. Got fired. I got fired because I would give people, I swear to God, I gave people the wrong size cup for water. I was supposed to give them a tiny cup for water, and I would give them a larger cup for water, and I got fired for that. I'm just like, okay. Of course, it scarred me forever. But that's what you have to do. You don't think this is a position. First of all, don't think of whatever in the world you think of what it's supposed to be for this position or that position. But actually look at the details. Whatever you assume, you know, like water cooler talk, in my experience, never happened. I'm sure it did, but I just didn't do it. And that was okay, whatever. This is not actually a part of the job. It is part of the culture. I just, you know, I mean, if I ever interacted with people at all, it would always be the comment, oh my God, you're talking with us. You know, oh, there's a massive snowstorm, you're going to eat lunch with us. because you can't leave the building because there's a massive snowstorm. Ooh, this is a special day. That's harder shit I would hear all the time. I can't tell you, this is going to sound so vain, I don't give a shit. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've heard people say, wow, you're funny. And I'm like, well, I'm not like a comedian. I'm just like a human being that actually talks like people. Yes, what? What? But it's so shocking that I can talk at all because I just don't, unless I have to, you know, like, okay, and it's bizarre. I mean, I think that, so we were seriously in the car for probably 6 hours yesterday, and maybe 20 minutes of that we had the radio on. Me and my son just talking the whole time. That's the reality, because that's the way I mean, obviously I'm talking now, you know, but when I'm around other people, I don't talk. When I'm on a job, I don't talk. When I'm in school, I don't talk. When I'm around other, people I don't know, I don't talk. Again, unless the avoidance is so extreme and, the loneliness is so extreme that it's kind of like people talk about the circle of love and hate, that it's so close that sometimes you learn to love somebody that you've hated, or vice versa. It's kind of like that. It's like the avoidance gets so bad that it collapses, and you're not avoidant for 5 seconds, and then you can bring somebody into your life. That's kind of what it's like. Like, it's been so, and people, seriously, I've been told by people that are very invested in me being able to continue to, put myself so last and put them first. They're like, God, you can't, you aren't in a condition to go on a road trip, to go to a city somewhere. Like, well, yeah, guess what? I went to 2 cities yesterday, and it recharged me to be in that sort of different environment, because I was in such a bad place. Now, if I'm like in a medium place or a good place, then that's a massive stress to go to a new city. But I don't know, I'm rambling. I'm always rambling. But that's how it works. That's how I went to school. I went to school, I was able to get through it. Oh, here he's back again. By taking classes that didn't involve anything but testing or turning in papers or stuff like that. No. Oh God, then we're gonna have a fit with each other. Oh, here she comes. She's gonna go have a fight with him. There they are. Brats. I guess that means I need to get off the thing right now. But anyway, that's how you do it. You find jobs or classes where you don't have to interact with people, and that's how you get through. And that's how I got through. It was entirely singular, and that's kind of how it's done. It's very possible. They have online classes if you can do that. They have online jobs if you can find them. Okay, one, I'm repetitive. 2, I'm hearing a cat crying because I think he got himself lost. So I'm going to go track him down. So I guess this is the end.